Hello, welcome to March 5th, 2023. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is something that I do each and every morning, shortly after waking up. I'm running a little bit behind this morning. It's now 4:51 a.m. Wow, I've been dallying around all morning. I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also remember yesterday and think about the challenges and opportunities that I met and look at how I handled them. And then I plan for the coming day and think about what I can do in the next 24 hours in terms of keeping in alignment with my objectives and wonder what principles I can use to help me meet the mark. Let's begin. Yesterday and last night, slept really, really well last night. Slept right up until the alarm and then some. That's why I'm running late. Wow. There's definitely a correlation between good sleep and good days and not working. Correlating well-being to not work. No work, good day. Something to that effect, right? And I had a great day yesterday. Just chock full. I had 11 tasks that I wanted to achieve, and I finished 10 of those tasks by 3 p.m. And then I finished the last one by before dinner time. Finished everything I wanted to do. I still haven't done my taxes though, darn it. Wonder if I can do that today. What a worthy task that would be right off the bat. In terms of challenges and opportunities yesterday, nothing really yesterday. It was a pretty straightforward day. Boy, did I have a challenge the day before that, because I didn't do this yesterday. Yesterday I did my morning book reading, so I did this in my head, but I didn't make a video. The morning before, we had an incident where our one dog was choking, and I had to do an emergency reach into his mouth to try to dislodge what it was. Oh my goodness, that was a mess. Blood, and he had bitten his tongue, we think, and blood everywhere, and took him to the emergency vet, and wow. In the moment, I was, just a moment, please. I'll tell the story. I was working here probably around 7 a.m. and at my desk, and the dogs were elsewhere. They'd been fed and gone out, and I was working away. And then we have two dogs, a black dog, Ollie, and a white dog, Rudy. My wife was getting dressed in the next room. And while I was working, the black dog, Ollie, came over and sat by my side and looked up at me, getting my attention, and looked down the hall. I didn't pay attention. I just patted him on the head and went back to work. Then he left and then came back. Did the same thing 2 more times. Finally, the second time, my attention was caught by a gagging from the hallway. And I looked down the hall, and there was Rudy, the white dog, gagging, choking with blood everywhere, all around his face. Quite in distress, dying no less. I jumped up. This is when one of my principles is the horror show, when life goes really bad. And this was the onset of the horror. And I jumped up and raced to him, and I called out to my wife, "We have an emergency. Rudy, the dog, is choking." And I heard her acknowledge that. She didn't come out, but she hopped on her phone immediately and was looking for a 24/7 vet because it was still early. I did my thing with the trying to extract the blockage, which I could feel inside. It was like the fluff of a dog's toy. But I was able to get my fingers just on it, but I couldn't quite, and it managed to go the other way, and he swallowed it, whatever it was, it went down the other side. We then took him to the vet and bundled him up in a towel. We took him to the vet and did their thing and did the x-rays, make sure there was nothing hard inside. They tried to induce vomiting, but that didn't work, etc., etc. So he's all right. Thank goodness. I wish I'd paid attention to what Ollie was trying to convey to me earlier. But I did catch myself in the moment trying to maintain my sober balance and keep calm under the stress of it all. I did panic a little bit and started to look for the vet when I realized, but then I remembered Yumiko was doing that. And I instead, this was after I had helped him to swallow the blockage. And I kept my calm, but it was tough. I would say that 60-70% there, not all the way. So, but much better than pure panic mode. That was a hell of a challenge, for sure. And as for Rudy, the doctors told us, the vet told us to watch out for him not being able to get it out, whatever it is. So we're keeping a close eye, and he's taking a special medication that will help, get things through. And he seems to be absolutely fine, though. Just, I think it was quite a traumatizing event for him. He wasn't the same the rest of the day in terms of his behavior was different, and he just slept it off. But he's okay now. Over there sleeping. All right, that was the hell of a day. Let's do the good life. Oh, remember the next thing was then that took about 2 hours of my morning when I should have been working. So I was able to reach out to my boss, tell them what was happening, and balance it out with some overtime that I'd worked the night before, so it all balanced out. Let's begin. The good life consists of 7 objectives as follows. These are the things that I'm striving for. These are the way that I want to live and the goals that I want to achieve in terms of my day-to-day behavior and the way I act. So they're not so much ends in themselves as much as ways of being. Number 1, the first one, is to, be always ready to die. To have my life in order with my affairs and my relationships and my life's work. And they are. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time. To set out good and reasonable goals and tasks for myself each day and to strive to achieve those things. I can do my taxes today. Number 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. These are the 7 objectives and 34 principles, that is, in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter called The Good Life. I call these assemblage of principles and objectives the Good Life Creed, in homage and nod to the Stoics. My 4th objective is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to react well to emotional circumstances. Like I think it was the day before the dog incident, I had an incident happen where I was driving my car through the apartment complex here, and the postal service truck was blocking the way. I couldn't get to my strange old complex here, and I couldn't get to my parking spot. So I stopped behind it and asked her if she could move over just a little bit so that I could get by, because she parked in a strange way. She was blocking both lanes of traffic, and the woman refused. She wasn't even starting her thing yet. She had just stepped out of her car. She refused. And I realized in the moment that I could fight this fight, or I could just go park elsewhere, go park on the street. So what? I began to engage her in a negative way, and I caught myself. And I just put the car in reverse, backed up, and then went and parked on the street. So what? That was an example of a good emotional reaction, not letting my frustrations build. And because, we have little frustrations and upsets throughout the day that gain and build inside, and we look for chances to output them. Another one that I had was at the vet, where I would have paid whatever it takes to take care of Rudy. But their protocol is to let us know. That's the way that vet operates. And They initially let us know that it was going to be about $250. In the end, the bill was $600. And for a moment, I was upset. Well, of course, that's a lot of money, right? So I was upset about that another unexpected bill. But I was more upset that they had not followed the protocol and let us know. You know, not a big thing. I mean, anytime I should know better, I should know the nature. One of my principles is the principle of nature. I should know the nature of stepping into a veterinary clinic without pet insurance, that I'm not getting out of there without a three-figure bill, if not four figures, right? And it's going to be expensive. I knew that, but the frustration and the fear and the anxiety and the upset of the previous hour's event of choking, I had begun to let flow out towards the young man that was handing me a bill for an unexpected amount, and I caught myself. Now, I wasn't able to temper the emotion down so much, so instead I stepped back and let Yumiko handle the bill, because I attended to Rudy, him who was in my arms. And then when we left, I just slipped out the door without engaging or saying anything, because the emotions were there, but I didn't engage or let them get the best of me. I had good emotional reactions. So I guess that's an example of living my creed. Well, I think I live my creed every damn day, throughout the day. It's an ongoing endeavor. It's become part and parcel of who I am. The next objective, number 5, is to perform good actions. Just to do good things. Find ways to make the world a better, safer place by way of my living. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I can operate within the bounds of what is possible and reasonable. And number 7 is to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. All right, now my 34 principles. The first of these is the principle of war, a reminder to fight against everything that I believe is true, and everything that you or anyone else propose to me is true. To fight against them, to make efforts to disprove, and if the item or the proposition or the idea turns out to be unfalsifiable, there's no way to prove it wrong, well then just reject that wholesale. It's no different than imagination. The 3 sub-principles in this are the next principle, which is reason, is the second principle. And the 3 sub-principles of reason are honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. Did I say 3? I meant 4. I need to be honest with myself at all times and others. I need to be a reasonable human being. I need to be objective. I need to be honest, objective, a fierce skeptic, and eager to embrace the humiliation of discovering that I'm wrong. There, I think I got it better now. So war, reason are 2 principles, and the sub-principles of reason are honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. There, I got it, came out better. Principle number 3 is the homunculus. I don't believe that I have a soul. I don't think any of us does. But I do, it seems, have a consciousness. And that consciousness I label a homunculus, the little man within. Number 4 is the anchor hold. It's the home where the homunculus lives. Not really, but just kind of an imaginary thing. I picture the homunculus, the little man within, sitting upon a rock sticking out of the sea where the waves churn and the currents swirl and the storms come and the rain comes down and the sun burns. And that little man inside is stuck on that rock, just like yours is stuck on yours. And that little man or woman will one day be swept into the sea, into oblivion, and be gone. And that is my reminder that there's nothing within me that is forever besides my subatomic particles and the energy which animates me now. I am destined for oblivion. Next is number 5 is the principle of purpose. I have, is that right? War, reason, homunculus, anchor hold. No, I got it wrong. The home of good and evil is next. Right and wrong are opinions. I don't believe that there's any absolute right or wrong. There's no goodness floating between the stars or badness swirling in the seas. These are just opinions that we have, subjective at their base and fundamental level. And we have to work hard at them because since they exist as biases, we have to be sure that our biases are based on good reasons. That's all. Just a reminder, we have to work hard at right and wrong. Work hard at good and evil. And justice is no small matter. Next is the principle of purpose. My purpose are 3. First is to be a good husband and father. Second is to be a virtuous man, where virtue is defined as working and striving towards the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. And number 3, my third purpose is whatever personal aim I choose to endeavor towards, and that is for me the sharing of my story in my book, Going Alone. Available on, it depends on where, but you could get it even in this link. If you're seeing this on Instagram, it's available. There's a buy button down below. And on Facebook, it's on my Facebook softypapa page. You can also get it when it's on my online store. It's available when it's in stock, because sometimes, like it's not in stock right now because I'm sold out. But you can also get it on Amazon. But if you buy it from my store, then I'll sign it and illustrate it. It comes with an illustration on the inside cover, of all things. Number 6 is, I think it's number 6, or maybe it's number 7. I'll lose track of the numbers, but I think I've got the order down. Is after this is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, molecules and atoms, animated with energy, and including you and me. That's all. And then next and it's all headed back to atoms and molecules, and they're forever changing. Next is the principle of nature. Everything and everyone have some particular nature. And we're off to a good start if we recognize what that nature is, if we can discover what it is, and then live better by abiding what the nature of things really are. Like I would live better abiding the nature of a veterinary clinic that I'm not getting out without spending hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, for every visit if I don't have pet insurance. It's just the nature of it. It's the nature of Kaiser, where I have my medicine now, that I usually get out of there with no more than $15 a visit because I do have insurance. I pay it up front, right? Okay, now next is the pirate ride. That's the next principle. I don't think free will is a thing. I think we are constrained by our interactions with the universe at large. We are compatible with the universe, if not destined. Free will is a dream. A dream that somehow persists, even though I don't believe in it. I somehow act as though it's real. It's so ingrained in my being. The next principle is called maturity. Maturity is that state we arrive at when we are one, have the wisdom of our past experiences, and then the fortitude to do better, and then we can enjoy the integrity of a life lived in alignment with our better knowing, our better understanding. Then comes the social principle. We are social creatures. We need each other. And then the principle of family, a recognition to, and suggestion to develop a connection, a human connection, a network, and a family of our own, whether it be the type of family that you put based on a ring on 2 fingers, or the family based on a community of friends, whatever the case may be. It's good to have a family. And then public speaking, a recommendation towards improved communication, better listening and speaking. And the sub-principles here are best words, cultivating a rich and deep vocabulary to use effectively. Prudence, the ability to filter our communication through our values. Felicity, the ability to season our communication with our emotions. Rumor and gossip. Oh, I knew I was missing one. Eloquence, the effort that's made of modeling and practicing good speaking. And then there's 2 negatives, rumors and gossip. Try to avoid those. Next comes temperance, the ability to control our consumption of all things. Food or drink, work, play, sex, everything in moderation. The 3 sub-principles here are suffering, because we should expect to suffer when we tell ourselves no. Simplicity, because a simple life is a temperate life. And then apathy, the ability to recognize the scope of our reach and to deny ourselves the expectations of those things that are beyond us. Next comes a principle called life will not go well, a reminder that life will be hard. And then after that, the principle called the horror show. This is a further observation that life will not just be hard, but sometimes it will be absolutely terrible, horrible. Like watching little Rudy practically choking to death, covered in blood. And way beyond that, the horror is coming for all of us. Next comes the principle called that which must be borne, B-O-R-N-E, carried. And what we have to carry in life, what we have to bear, is the fact that life will not go well and the horror show. After that comes a principle called the Feast of Offal. Offal is the waste and byproduct of butchery. So when a butcher cuts up a carcass of an animal, they're left with leftovers that they can't sell over the counter. The eyeballs, the brains, the skin, the bones, you get it. Intestines. The question is, well, it's not a question. There's leftover of our life too. Our life's mental endeavors leave leftovers as well. And these are the things that reside inside of us and we don't know what to do with. A butcher can grind it all up into sausage and sell it that way. We wind up throwing our excess out in moments of upset and when we fail to control ourselves, intemperance. Our waste and byproduct of our mental activities comes out of us and it contaminates others when we have our moments of upset. I could have vomited, so to speak, my mental offal upon that postal woman for refusing to move the truck. I could have contaminated her with my filth. Likewise, I could have done the same with that young man at the veterinary clinic for presenting me with a $600 bill when I was expecting $200. I chose not to. I did not engage in the feast. I kept it inside. And you don't even need to release it. There used to be this idea, I used to have this idea that it would build up and then explode. Serenity Now, right? For those that remember Seinfeld. It doesn't seem to be the case. You can hold it in and it's like a pressure that kind of releases on its own if we can get through the moment, right? You don't have to explode. That's what the Feast of Offal is all about, is to not spread the feast. And likewise, when someone else is spreading their feast, to keep our mouth shut and not consume it because it spoils and contaminates us. But stand by and offer them a tissue and a shoulder to cry on if necessary. It doesn't mean we're not compassionate. It just means that we're not going to consume the upset of others in that way. Next is the principle called distraction. We can spend our whole lives distracting ourselves with all the things that we can do in life, our work and our play and our politics and our sports and our hobbies and our TV and our radio and our podcasts and our religion and our God. All of it, the whole life long, distraction, distraction, distraction until we're dead. And what are we distracting ourselves away from is the next principle called the great indifference. The great indifference is the recognition that God doesn't exist, that the universe is empty. It's a howling waste, so to speak. We're alone. La, 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 la. I don't want to see or hear that or know that. I won't even speak it. I'll just keep myself busy. It's an awful thing to behold, because it means the weight of responsibility is upon us to live well. The weight of managing and dealing with the fact that life will not go well and the horror is upon us. And it means that there's no one to rescue us from death. No eternity waiting for us. We just have to deal with the little life that we get, the bits and pieces that remain. That's more than a lot of us can take. So we don't. And we distract. I choose not to distract. I choose to face the indifference. That's what going alone is all about. Going alone is about going and witnessing this emptiness. And then coming back and making a good life in spite of that. That's the hard part. Next principle is the best seat in the house. To strive to be all right with who I am and where I am and what I'm doing in every day and every moment. All the while working towards better. After that comes the principle called the restless man, which speaks to the unease, the restlessness that we feel beginning in our late teens and right up through our 20s. Not for all of us, but for a lot of us. The restlessness for adventure, for something new, for a different life. Some of us will heed that restlessness and do something about it. And if we do, we step upon the next principle, the path of wildness, which is a way forward and through from one life to another. It's the segue between living. And it's easy to find. It's the course of a stream. Leaves blown in the wind. A beast's track through the brush. And the direction of our first inclination. What yields, what results of stepping upon the path of wildness is the next principle, the great life adventure, which is the story and the consequence of our courage to step away. Highly, highly recommended if you discover you are a restless man or a restless woman at a young age. If you don't do it, you'll probably be pestered by that for the rest of your life. If you do it, you'll be rewarded with a story of your own that you can carry, and you can then build the rest of your life around. All right, next is the risk of avoiding risk. So what if we are a restless man or a restless woman, but we don't do anything about it? Well, you risk being haunted by that fact for the rest of your life. But what if we are a restless young man or a restless young woman and we do something about it and we stick to that course and we continue to do one thing after another, serial adventuring through our life? Well, then you run the risk of going too far the other way and not spending enough time on building a home and a family and a community and a career and security for ourselves and our families. Too much adventure, too much safety. This is why my motto is, be safe, but not too safe. It says it right there on the cover. Finding kind of a middle ground. The formula that I recommend is that if you discover you're a restless man or a restless woman in your late teens or 20s, well, of course, go to university. Get your first degree. Get a bachelor's degree at least. But then when you're done with that, around age 23 to 25, then go home, give your degree to your family, and say, I'll see you in 5 years. And then go off. Have your great life adventure until age 30. And then come back and start from there. Sure, you'll be behind others, your peers in college who went straight to their careers and started a family, and maybe they're already married with a home and one kid and another on the way, and you're just starting out. You'll never catch up probably, but you'll be well ahead of the curve in terms of assuaging the haunting that will come if you haven't had your adventure. It's the risk of avoiding risk. The next principle is sin and damnation. Sin I don't believe in sin in the conventional sense. I don't believe there's any God to sin against, or gods. But I do believe we can sin against well-being. We can sin against our better nature. And there are 8 particular items that I qualify as sins against well-being. And these consist of 1, falsity, being an untrue person. 2, credulity, believing things too readily. And then the next few after that are all versions of credulity. The next is faith, believing things where we use the foundation of the belief as the very belief itself, which is a circular thing. It doesn't make any sense at all, founding belief upon belief. Superstition is next, a almost nonsensical category of ideas that we can pretty much lump into the category of needs more evidence. Dogma, belief founded upon tradition, which isn't a good reason to believe either. It's an interesting thing. It's a good reason to take a close look, but not to believe in itself. And then number 6 is authority, belief based on the charisma or the appearance of someone or some institution or some governing body. It's not a good enough reason to believe either. And then the last 2, 7 and 8, are spreading rumors and engaging in gossip, again with those. The consequence of any of these sins, which broadly speaking are 3 levels, or there's 3 types. There's being untrue, believing things that may be untrue, or behaviors that can result in rumors and gossips. Doing those things result in damnation of a sort in the here and now. We're a damned liar, damned fool, or a damned rumor-mongering gossip. And the consequence is damnation now, because there's no afterlife to suffer in. The next principle builds upon that idea that there's no afterlife. If there is no afterlife, then complete oblivion awaits. There'll be no final reunion with our loved ones, no chance to have reconciliation with them because we won't see them again if we parted on sour terms, and there'll be no final justice because there's no God or heaven or judgment to follow. Hitler gets away with his crime, and Anne Frank will never be avenged or rewarded. Next comes script writing, a simple principle that suggests that we can plan our way through the day, plan our way through the hours, plan our way through life. I like to forecast what's coming up in the minutes, hours, and days ahead. I especially do this at work as I move from one meeting to another. I visualize who's going to be at the meeting, the topics that we're going to talk about. As a project manager, I run almost every meeting that I'm in, so I have an agenda of items that I'm going to follow. And I think about the people who are going to be there, what their relative characters are like, and what their personalities, and what to expect. And I visualize it going well. It's kind of a visualization thing that really does have a positive impact, right? Because it helps me to see where the bumps are going to be and to see the opportunities to improve and to rein in my character. and to be a better man. Next comes the bullseye aim. Very simple principle that suggests that life will usually not hit the mark. Just like when we're playing darts, when I throw a dart, I expect to miss the bullseye. I'm aiming for the bullseye, but I expect to miss. I'm not upset when I miss. And maybe I'm disappointed, but I'm not upset because I didn't expect to hit the bullseye. In fact, when I do hit the bullseye, I'm delighted. For some reason, we don't deal with life in general in that same very matter-of-fact manner. We expect to hit the mark all the time, and we're frustrated when we miss. I should go into each meeting that I have at work expecting, to miss. Something's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. Some little things are going to happen along the way. And instead, I should be delighted when it goes well, and then nothing happens when I do hit the bullseye. It's a kind of applying that same principle of darts to life itself. The next principle is called the uphill climb, a reminder to continue to climb upward, trying to finish the day stronger and better with a more expansive view of the universe than yesterday. And I do that by setting out tasks for myself every day and a to-do list, and I strive towards those things, even on my days off. Next is arena and utility. Life is this arena for the efforts that we make to improve the world and to improve our lives. And I use my principles as the tools to help me achieve my objectives. Next is the principle called nothing is enough. Is enough. The emphasis on is. A very deep well of a principle, suggestive of simplicity and comfort and ease in less. I have a lot of exploring to do in this principle. I hope to do so even more so after I retire. And then last, the final principle is the principle of fun. A reminder to enjoy my life, to have a good time today, and also to remember the good times of the past and to plan for good times for tomorrow. Like it's a Sunday. I have the day off. All my chores are done. All our shopping is done. I have just a few to-dos that I need to work on today. After that, I'm free. Maybe my wife and I can take our dogs out for a walk on the beach. Maybe we could take them to the harbor. Something would be nice. A nice lunch together, perhaps. We'll see. With that, my good life creed is done. All that remains now is to think about the coming day and to plan it out. So I'll finish this. I'll upload this. I'll peck out my little bit to go with it. I'll go over and read the Bible. And then after that, I'll feed the dogs, let them out. I'll feed myself. Then I'll sit down and come up with my to-do list for the day. I'll then sit here and read until the sun comes up. And then after that, work on my to-dos, and I hope to spend a good deal of time reading, make my, I don't need the details, but I'll do the things on the to-do list. And then after that, maybe go out and have a nice lunch with my wife and just enjoy the day. Oops, hear my tummy. I guess it's time for breakfast. Thank you for joining me. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. And with that, my life is done, if not finished. Take care.